same to. I'm trying to get my computer to get larger for this. Make sure I have the right speech.
All right, Mr. Chair, the YouTube is live, so whenever you'd like to get started, we can get going.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I have the correct speech here. Okay. I think I don't have the most recent one on the computer. Sorry, Barb, I'm not sure I have the right speech here. The most updated one.
I'll find it and send it to you.
Where was the, I'm just trying to see where the revision in the paragraph, was it before the land acknowledgement or after? I have one on the computer and I have one hard copy, but I'm not sure it's the most recent one. Okay, no, but maybe you want to read it out today, Barb. I think I have the one on my computer. How about I read what I have and then you can interject with the part that I missed or that I don't have about the new appeal provisions.
Yes, it will be in the receiving a copy of the decision. I'll do that part.
Okay, so let me start with what I have before me here anyway. Okay, my apologies. Good morning. Due to COVID-19, Committee of Adjustment public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx Webinar, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. Participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx Webinar, which is moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating by video or audio only. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. And when your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelists when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time, and at all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelists. Oh, okay, sorry. Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline, and members of the public and applicants are not allowed to use the share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is also home to many, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto was covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address as the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto local appeal body in the event of an appeal will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto local appeal body or in some limited circumstances to Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Barb, is this the part where you should interject with the new portion? We're going to the appeal rights, or you want to do it at the end?
No, I can do it now.
Okay, I don't.
As of November 28th, 2022, only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee.
Thank you, Barb. Okay, so the hearing procedure is I'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda. We'll first, as usual, deal with deferral requests at the outset. And in making your submissions where an application is uncontested, meaning there's no other party present to make submissions, not that we haven't received letters, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. Where the committee does not require presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to address the committee. The committee may ask questions and then take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the agent or applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. And the clock is shown on the board. And when you reach 5 minutes, you'll be asked to sum up and finish up. When addressing the committee, please start off by clearly stating your name and address, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent goes first on the contested matter and makes their presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals made at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised in order to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application have been informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. And and committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentation. And all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent is given a further 5 minutes to rebut those issues and answer those questions that were raised by the speakers. That will then mark the end of the discussion. The application is then taken into the committee for a decision. Okay, some housekeeping matters. I believe we have the minutes of the last hearing, which was back in December the 8th, I believe. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes, please?
I'm happy to make that motion for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Seconder for that. Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? The minutes are approved. Any declarations of interest of panel or staff on the matters before us this morning? None to declare, thank you. Okay, are there any files to be closed, Barb?
Today.
Okay, so we might as well then, we can move on to the deferral requests. In the consolidated memo, I know we have items 8, 12, and 19 in the morning agenda. And upon the agenda review, I note that there's also a request in item 5, an agent email back some time ago, but it's not on the list, but we'll stick that in. And I guess that'll be the first one we'll do if we go in numerical order. So the first application to be dealt with as a deferral request is 5 ORIANNA Drive, item number 5. This is for a new detached dwelling and attached garage with 4 variances. And I see we have some revisions. They said the location map is revised, but it looks the same. The applicant has written in in a email requesting a deferral to the February 23rd hearing. We do have revised plans, but they're asking for that deferral. That was in a January 17th email. The speaker for that item is Arlene Beaumont. That's the only speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Arlene Beaumont, Outfit and Associates. We're representing the owners of 5 ORIANNA Drive. We'd like to request deferral today because there was a variance that was missed in zoning review. We had 2 zoning reviews and they didn't catch that FSI was an issue. And then we revised the plans to address some planning concerns. We submitted for a 3rd zoning review and the 3rd one came back with FSI, sort of as a brand new variance. So it wasn't included on the public notice that went out before the holidays. So we need to request deferral today so that we can recirculate the public notice with the FSI included.
Okay, and I saw there was mention of the February 23rd hearing. Has that been agreed upon with staff?
Yes, we have spoken with staff about February 23rd.
Okay, very good. Members, any questions for Ms. Beaumont, or is someone ready with the motion? Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Chair, I move deferral to enable the notice to be revised.
Thank you. Ms. Alderson, thank you for seconding that. I see your hand up. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. Thank you, Ms. Beaumont. We'll see you again next month.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, the next one is item number 8, 2050 Keele Street. And that is an application to construct 10 new rental suites within the existing apartment building. There are 8 variances. We have a request, it's D5, it's an agent is requesting due to the requirement for a site plan control application. Transportation was also recommending deferral. Urban Forestry, condition 2, and we had an opposition from a letter from a tenant. So the speaker for this application is Michelle below, and we also have, sorry, we also have registered to speak on this, and so they can stay on and speak to the matter of the deferral, but we're not going to be discussing the merits. We have 2 tenants from the building registered to speak as all, Ms. Richards and Luis Aticiano.
Mr. Chair, before we get to Michelle, I'd like to bring to your attention that only the area resident, Luis, is on the call at this time.
Okay. We'll just weigh in on the matter of the deferral. Okay, so let's hear first from Michelle below.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Bullow from Gymo Architects, and I'm acting on behalf of the owner of 2050 Keele Street. And today I just asked the committee that we defer the hearing for this proposal to a later date. As the chair mentioned, we were requested to prepare a site plan control application. So we are currently in discussion with the owner regarding whether to reduce the area of work to avoid this requirement or to continue with the proposal as is and do the site plan approval application.
Okay, any questions, members, or someone ready to make a motion to deferral? Oh, sorry, we have to speak. There's a neighbor on the line, a resident of the building on the line. We'll have to weigh in this with him as well. Sir Luis Aticiano, welcome, sir.
Luis, go ahead.
How you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. She wants to
Okay,
referral?
yeah, the agent has made a request that this matter deferred, and he will be re-notified, or there will be a sign posted. I don't know if that's how you were made aware of this application. But this application will be brought on at a later date. We're not going to discuss it on the merits now, but do you have any questions about the deferral?
No, not right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
No one has any questions for the resident of the building. Okay, if such, someone ready to weigh in with a motion to defer this matter. Mr. Deferral. Thank you, sir. Seconder for that. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. We'll see you back here again, Michelle, and which time you'll proceed with your application once you just get the site plan done. Okay, the next one on the deferral list is item number 12. And that is 34 Doddington Drive. We also have 2 speakers on that one. Oh no, we just have the agent and the homeowner. So we'll hear from Fausto Cortese. This is an application for a second-story addition above the existing dwelling, a two-story addition, and with an attached garage with 13 variances. And the referral, Urban Forestry is also looking for a deferral, and it's for reasons 2 and 6, the 6 being the request by the agent. So let's hear from the agent. Fausto?
Good morning, committee. My name is Fausto Cortese. I'm the architect representing the owners in this matter. We're asking for deferral here in order to facilitate more time to address a lot of the planning comments. In discussing with planning and zoning regarding the application, we found some areas where we can greatly improve the requested variances, and also taking into account forestry's comments, we've revised the plan to not negatively affect the tree in the front, and we need the additional time to in order to hire an arborist, in order to prepare an arborist report to better describe our proposal and how we will be maintaining the front tree.
Okay. And I note we don't have any neighbors on the line to speak to this. It's the other person on the line is your client, the homeowner. So members, any questions for Fausto, or is someone ready to weigh in with the motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll move deferral to enable time to consult with community planning and urban forestry.
Okay. Thank you. Seconder for that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. We'll see you again, sir. Okay, the last deferral item on this morning's agenda is item number 1963, the Kingsway. This is for a 3-story rear addition. There are 8 variances. We have at least 10 objection letters. TRC has no objection. We have an email from the agent January the 4th requesting deferral, and the reason for deferral is also for reason 4 from planning, but it's 4 and 6. Urban Forestry was looking for 2 and 5 being a denial as well. And on this application, the agent read to speak is Saba Al Mathno, and we have 5 area residents registered to speak on this matter to the merits. So let's hear first from Saba Al Mathno.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. We are requesting deferral because we had been working with planning and we've done changes to improve the application as well as with forestry. And unfortunately, the revised zoning notice did not come in time for this hearing. This is why we are asking deferral for the next available hearing. So most of the neighbors' concerns actually have been addressed by the new revision that will be uploaded to the city portal. So we've eliminated a few variances and reduced the rest. So most of the neighbors' concerns will be, and forestry will be addressed actually in the revised drawings. And planning has no objections to the revised drawings. We worked closely with Nicholas.
Okay, so I hope the neighbors we have 5 neighbors on the line, I guess, listening with interest to this. We have, like I said, over 10 letters of objections. So hopefully some or all of those objections will fall away with your revision and the neighbors can wait and see. So in the meantime, does anyone have any questions for the agent before we move in just to touch base with each of the neighbors on the matter of the deferral? No questions for the agent? Okay, so let's, you know, if we were in person, I don't know if we'd have to sort of, well, they would have all have to come down to City Hall or to the, you know, to do this here. They're just on the line. So there will be obviously a re-notification of the new plan will be circulated with the new variances once the revisions are back. Okay, so the first neighbors are the neighbors at 11 Strath, Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to unmute them, but I'd like to bring to their attention, they did request to be on video. With that being said, they are a call-in user today. So I'd like to bring to the attention to the Smiths that I cannot put you as your video on because you're a call-in user. With that being said, I'll go ahead and unmute you now.
Okay. Yeah, I see that actually there are 3 people here who've asked to apply by video. It's nice to see some people wanting to do that because since it's been available, very, very few people have taken advantage of that option. Anyway, is that Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yes, we are here. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, we have not seen the revised plans, although we did see a revised rendering, which really didn't change much other than the front of the house. So we hope that the applicant will respect the wishes of all the neighbors and make the necessary revisions. We're to be perfectly honest, we're not hopeful because the requests were in no way minor variances.
Yeah. Okay. So
Given
we'll see what they come back with, and obviously, if you and the other neighbors are still dissatisfied, you'll certainly show up like you did this morning. When they bring it back on, until then, nothing's going to be built, and you'll have your chance to object then. And you know, those letters that we have, the 10 objection letters, will be still stand on the record, subject to any changes that may arise. So stay tuned. Okay. Let's hear from the next neighbor, 61 the Kingsway, Christopher Rankin.
Mr. Chair and members, Christopher Rankin was present on the call earlier, but has since dropped off.
Okay. Possibly realizing it's going to be deferred, they figured there was no need to stay on. Okay, next one is Mary Lynn Finesse at 7 Strath.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Reiterate what Mike Smith said. We have seen one revision that did not address the concerns. You know, one thing it did was reduce the height by 15 centimeters, which is a bit of a joke in my view. So we will anxiously await to see revisions, and I'm sure we'll all be present again for the meeting. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you here again then. Next one, a neighbor is Mary Lynn's next door neighbor, Ian Mitchell at number 9.
Good morning. Excuse me, I was not able to speak to merits. I don't have any strong feeling on deferral. I just an idea when it might happen. Is it a week, a month away, or 2 months?
It's all up to the applicant when they put the application forward. Until then, and nothing's going to be built.
Okay, just for the record, I haven't seen all 10 letters. I'm a participant in one of them, and the ones that I have seen, I wholeheartedly agree with. And I have great misgivings about 3 stories.
Okay.
So that's it.
Okay, so we'll see her back again when this matter is brought back on, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you. And the last neighbor is Mark Hilson of 12 Kingsway Crescent.
Mr. Chair, members, Mark is not present on the call at this time.
Okay, so then we've touched base with everyone on the line. So let's bring it back into committee for a to make a motion for a motion on the deferral request. Mr. Palmer.
Yeah, I'll move for deferral to allow the applicant to revise the application.
Thank you. Okay, seconded for that. Mr. Taylor, I saw your hand up at almost the same time. All in favor? And okay, the matter is deferred. Thank you very much, and we'll see you here again once those revisions have been made. Saba, see whether they're acceptable or not. The neighbors remain skeptical, but we'll see. Okay, so having said that, we can go back to the top of the agenda and start hearing applications on the merits. The first application is item number 1, 15 Stone Court, and it's an application to construct a 2-story east side addition. There are 3 variances. Planning has conditions of approval. We have 11 letters of support, number 11 Stone Court is in support, and number 17 on the other side is or next door neighbor is has written in with a letter of opposition. We only have the one speaker, Paige Reach, the agent for the applicant. Welcome.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Paige Breisha from Blue Ink. Our address is 222 The Esplanade, Toronto, Ontario, M5A 4M8.
Okay. So we do have a letter of objection, which I take it you've read. It's supposed to have the same weight as if the person was here for reading it out or objecting in person.
Yes.
I see they're not here for the meeting. So if you could please give us a brief presentation and address the concern of the neighbor. And I see we do have the planning condition. I assume you can just advise whether that condition is acceptable to you and your client.
Sure. So can I just do my presentation? Is that okay?
Sure.
So the owners of the semi-detached house at 15 Stone Court grew up in this home and are in dire need of more square footage to raise their 2 kids. The proposed design includes a 2-story side addition that aligns with the rear wall of the existing house. The reason for building to the side instead of above was to maintain the visual integrity of the joint houses and is more cost effective. The addition is 78.74 square meters in total gross floor area and is set back by 6.47 meters from the front wall of the existing house. We've been working with planning to reduce the variances required, jumping down from 5 variances to 3, removing the need of a front yard and side yard setback variance. We have also worked with planning to reduce the size of the addition, so the 3 remaining variances are minor. The proposed design requires approval for a lot coverage variance of 0.84% and a rear yard setback from 9.0 meters to 7.21 meters, a difference of 1.86 meters to align with the existing rear wall. Many homes in the neighborhood have had similar approvals, such as 7 Hibiscus Court, 31 and 37 Belgrade Court. Variance 3 asks for allowing a parking spot in the front yard portion of the driveway. This parking spot will be in front of the new addition.
I don't want to interrupt you if you're reading your I don't know if we need you to read your fulsome presentation. The neighbor's objection is mainly the 3rd variance. If you could perhaps just address that particular variance.
Yep, it's coming up.
The parking spot. I think that's what the neighbor's concerned with. Otherwise, I don't think they have a problem with the other 2.
Yep, so this parking spot will be in front of the new addition, which is currently the existing driveway. We've spoken with both neighbors. The attached neighbor at 17 Stone Court submitted a letter of objection regarding parking in front of the house as they believe the parking spot would have been on the front lawn. I spoke to them via email to clarify the front lawn will remain as is, and the parking spot will be in front of the new addition, which is set back 6.47 meters from the existing house. We came to a resolution and an email thread was uploaded to our file as evidence. This family of 4 will be calling this their forever home if you approve the variances in their current design.
Yeah, I see you have no landscape variance. It's not like you're replacing the lawn with parking as the neighbors seem to think.
Exactly.
Okay, so thank you. Let's see if members have any questions for you or if someone's ready for a motion.
Yeah, Palmer, I've got a question regarding the rear yard setback variance. The notice indicates that 7.21 is the request. Planning staff have recommended that it be tied to a site plan, and the site plan that we have shows it at 8.51 meters. Can you just clarify what's depicted on the site plan? What we should be looking at to vary here for the rear yard?
Yes. Sorry, I'm just opening up the drawing. There's a freezing. So the setback is 7.21 meters on the site plan. It's from the corner to the corner, not from the direct line backwards if you're perpendicular to the lot line. So it's from the corner of the rear addition to the corner of the property lines where they join. That's 7.21, and that is what the
okay, I see that.
Notices.
I see that dimension now. Okay, all right. Thank you for that clarification.
No problem.
Do you have any issues with the recommendation from planning?
No, we've spoken with them throughout this process, so all is well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, so Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied that the 3 requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. And I move approval subject to the Community Planning Department condition.
Okay. Seconder for that?
Yeah, I'll second. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer. All in favor? Okay, the application is unanimously approved. Thank you, Ms. Reach. I'd also like to point out, I haven't, someone could just weigh in as we go through if there's anything in the additional materials. I didn't seem to see that until first thing this morning. I didn't think there'd be any because we have such a long period of time for people to prepare for this, but I guess we do have a smaller list of additional materials. Okay, so item number 2 then is 52 ALICEWOOD Court. It's an application to convert the existing garage into biddable space and to construct 2 tandem parking spaces on the north side of the lot. We have a revised notice for the meeting today, a revised agenda page showing a revision to the second of the 2 variances, being the soft landscape variance has been improved somewhat. Although still less than the 50%, it's gone up from 12% to 16%, and the other, both areas are soft landscape related, and we have revised plans and zoning review. We have a previous decision, this November 2003, where the 2-car garage was constructed. That they now want to convert to a biddable space. Planning has conditions of approval, and we have 3 letters of support. And the speaker for this application is Tarunpreet Kaur, who is the owner of the property. Welcome.
Hello. Well, I'm not the owner of the property, but I'm the representative for the application. Good morning, everyone.
Okay. So you're Tarunpreet Kaur because you're listed on my sheet. So you're the agent.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that change. Thank you. I don't think we need a fulsome presentation. I guess you have these variances already exist. They're not made being any worse because the garage is already there. You just want to use it for a biddable space.
Yeah, for gym specifically.
Okay, so you're not adding anything that's making the soft landscaping less than it is before you convert this to biddable space.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, see if anyone else has any questions for the homeowner, sorry, the agent, or is someone ready for a motion?
I have a question. Is the applicant aware of community planning's condition about rear landscaping? That it be tied to that?
Sorry?
There's a condition that community planning has put forward regarding the rear yard landscaping, I believe. Let me just pull it up. Yes, it shall be constructed as illustrated in the site plan submitted January 9 to 2023 as it relates to the rear yard landscaping. So obviously they're concerned about that.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah.
You're aware of that. Okay.
Yes.
In that case, I move for approval subject to community planning's condition that has already been read.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Seconder for that motion, Mr. Komarek, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the application is approved.
That's on the modified application.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, subject to obviously the planning condition, yes. Next application is item number 3, 1386 Islington Avenue. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage and a pool in the rear yard. Previous Committee of Adjustment application approved variances relating to floor space index, front yard setback, aggregate side yard setback abutting a street, dwelling length, canopy encroachment, roof eave encroachment, second story platform, front yard landscape, and driveway width. And now there's a request for the rear yard soft landscaping. I guess they got variances on more or less everything else. So here it's a variance in the soft landscaping from the 50% required to 32%. We have a cover letter. We have the previous decision, which was from June 2019. There was a severance previous to that in August 2018, creating this lot. And planning has written a memo requesting the application be refused. And that's all we have. The speaker for this application is Amy Langan and Craig Sinclair, the owners of the property. Welcome. We have one of the two homeowners on the line?
Yes, Amy Langan and Craig Sinclair, we're both here. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity today. We're certainly happy to answer any questions that you might have. I think what we wanted to reiterate are just a couple of points. One, and I think they're probably in the application, but one is that our neighbors that are directly beside us, beside the yard, are in support of approving the variance. And two is that this is a corner lot, so that we actually do have quite a bit of soft landscaping, most of which, I guess not most of which, but a good portion is actually city property that is soft landscaping, which would get us to close to, if not meeting, the 50%.
Okay, you've read the planning report dated January the 17th.
Yes.
So they do not feel this is minor. They advise they didn't object to the previous minor variance application where you had a lot of variances. And because at that point there was no rear yard soft landscaping variance and no pool was proposed at that time. And apparently now the dwelling and rear yard pool are already constructed without the necessary approval. So you went ahead and built this pool without permission. And we can read the next paragraph of the planning report where they state that they don't believe it's the prevailing character. And unfortunately, just to let you know that the committee members are, when the situation, when something's been built, they do not have any regard for the fact that it's been built. They have to approach it as if it hasn't been built, making their decision. So if you'd like to just give some explanation, there's no one here to speak on the other side. The planning department does not appear, and as you said, there are no neighbors in objection. So that's one thing. The variance is from 50 to 32%. And let's see if committee members have any questions for you.
I actually do.
We did apply for the pool permit, of course, as part of the process. So it was built, and then there was some misunderstanding in terms of the patio. I think it's partially because, again, we are on this corner lot. So it appears, if you were to see our lot, it certainly appears as though there's more than ample. So there was some sort of hiccup in the process that we weren't involved in. And now we're just dealing with it after the fact. But yeah, if you did see our property, there's a tremendous amount of grass because we are on the corner lot. So there was some sort of misunderstanding.
And we just want to clarify, we did have
guys, just if you can please, we're supposed to have one speaker, so
I do have a question.
Start it off, and then Craig. So let's continue with Craig. But just the issue of, you said, I guess it's a variance. The pool, I guess, didn't need approval from the committee, but it didn't. I guess what they're saying, when you came to committee for all these variances, you didn't show a pool at that point. And then subsequently, obviously, the pool may comply. It's the landscaping or the landscape, the decking or stonework or whatever you have there that surrounds the pool that I guess is triggering the variance. So let's hear from Ms. Alderson.
That's a nice segue into my question, which is, were you requested by the city to replace the pavement in the back or the concrete in the back with permeable pavers? And is that something that you would consider doing? Because the pool is built. I mean, and it was built, I guess, without a permit. But I think it's the soft landscaping in the backyard that's the real issue. And if you would consider replacing the concrete with the permeable pavers, I would like to hear about that. I think that was a request made by the city, if I recall correct.
We did get a permit, just to make it clear again. We did get a permit for the pool. It was permitted. We had an inspector come. They actually inspected the plan. Nothing was said regarding the planned patio at the time from that inspector. We received the permit, we built it. So it was information that the permit was completed and closed. So we found this out after the fact, and no one mentioned, I did read in the planning report regarding the permeable option, but that was the first we had heard of it. was at that point from the planning department just a week or so ago.
So from what I remember, I'd have to pull up the pictures, the photographs. I think there was a photograph. It looks like a concrete driveway, not a patio. So can you explain that?
So on the other side of the property, because we're on this corner lot, yes, we do have a driveway on the other side of the property, and then in the back corner of our lot around the pool, we have a patio, not a large, but just a patio surrounding just the edges of the pool. So those are the two parts of our property that have concrete.
Okay, so when you say a patio, it's also concrete, is that correct?
It's stones. It's stones with just stones around the pool, and then our driveway is concrete or asphalt, I guess it would be. Sorry.
So the stones around the pool would in fact be permeable.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, the paragraph, I guess they say, you sort of answered, I guess they're not, it says here that city planning have recommended possible improvements to the site, as Alderson's alluding to, which would have included the use of permeable pavers in the rear yard to improve the paved area. Unfortunately, the applicant did not make any changes to improve the as-built situation. So I don't know if you only found that out of their displeasure when you made the application some time ago, or back only, like you say, about a week ago, and you got this on the 17th. Are you prepared, I guess, is what to make some changes? And perhaps we can scroll through those pictures again. I was, so everyone is aware of the current situation and what it looks like.
So as mentioned, the back patio is would be permeable. There's no trees or anything around the back patio whatsoever. So there's nothing drawing, any water from that. But the patio is permeable, and the driveway is obviously not.
And I guess we see a lot of grass. We see the pool is sort of, because it's a corner lot, is sort of on the side, not on the rear traditionally. So there is also there is greenery there. It's not like you've paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
Yeah, it is actually a huge, like I have, when we're cutting the grass, it's a huge portion of grass on both sides.
So the pool in this case is not, it's sort of been gated in. It's not, I guess, putting, grass in there wouldn't have made sense. You have sort of segregated the pool on the side and fenced it in, as you're required to, obviously, for safety. Yes. Okay, any other questions, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Komarek?
Just wanted to clarify that, looking at it from Google Street View at the side and from the photos, the majority of the backyard is paved over. The grass that the applicants are referring to is primarily City Boulevard. So, when you look at the percentage of coverage, you don't include the City Boulevard. You look at the private portion only. And I think that's where there's a little bit of lack of clarity, but I just wanted to say that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, would you like to comment, or would you like to indicate where you're looking in terms of making a motion, if you were to make a motion, given what you see?
Yeah, my inclination is to approve it. I think it's questionable as to whether it was, unforeseen or not, but I think given the circumstances, I do believe it is minor, and therefore I'd like to move approval.
Okay, thank you. Seconder for Mr. Komarek's motion, Mr. Palmer.
I'll second it. Just for clarity, this is a site-specific variance for this particular property, and I don't think it sets a precedence for people who have internal lots. This particular applicant has a large side yard that they can pick up some of the soft landscaping on it. And I think looking at their zoning stats, it looks like they're picking up additional soft landscaping on their front and flankage yard as well, which is over and above the zoning requirements. So they're pretty close when you add all the yards and you add the side yard and whatnot. So I'll
Okay.
second the,
I don't think there's any conditions.
no conditions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your pool. Okay, next item is item number 4, 32 MAYDOLPH Road. It's an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling, a top-up. There's only one variance. The distance from the front lot line is less than a meter, and I assume maybe it's an overhang. We'll hear from the agent. We have nothing whatsoever on file on this application other than the materials submitted with the application. No comment from neighbors or city departments. And the speaker for this is Bruno Lopez. Welcome, sir.
My name is Bruno Lopez from MXL Engineering, 1649 St. Clair Avenue West, and I'm the representative for the owner.
Okay, thank you, sir. I guess very straightforward. What's triggering the front yard setback? Is the an overhang on the second floor, or does it already exist?
No, actually, this is a very interesting application. We did all the efforts to stay away from committee. Not that we don't like committee, but actually, in fact, this is a corner lot, and if you see, Mr. Chair, the lot front is actually on the right side of the picture. If you see the plans. So this is an existing condition, and it's already at 10 point something meters, and we are just a few centimeters away. So literally, it's something so obnoxious, but we couldn't get rid of it.
Okay, well, you tried. Okay, so it's like 0.6 of a meter, it's like half a meter or something, and it's existing. So what can you do? Members, motion, please.
I'll move to approve. It's about as minor as it can be, I think. Subject to forestry condition 1.
Okay. Seconder for that? Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the application is approved. Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5 has been deferred, so we move on to item number 6, 10 Netherley Drive. And it's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are only 2 variances, 0.05 FSI and a less than 1% coverage issue. The speaker is Abhishek Rajgor. And yeah, there's no one else present on this application. And we have, again, nothing whatsoever before us, no comments from neighbors or city staff. Abhishek?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
This is Abhishek from MEM Engineering, and here representing this application for 10 Netherley Drive.
Okay, well, kudos to you. You're building a new detached dwelling with virtually no variances other than, 3 meters in your coverage and a floor space index of about 25 square meters over. If you've been listening, the last application, the people that had a pool, they had about 13 variances when they built their house and came back for a 14th. So you haven't gone by much.
Yeah.
Let's see if members have any questions for you. And if not, if someone's ready for a motion.
If no one has any questions, I'm prepared to make a motion. This is a very minor variance application that is desirable, and I move for approval with no conditions.
Thank you. Second for that motion. Mr. Komarek, thank you. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Rajor. You have your variances.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee. Have a nice day, all of you.
You too.
Bye.
Okay, item number 7 is the next application. It's 37 Stoffel Drive, Unit 7. It's an application to permit a retail store use with particularly a paintball shop within the existing industrial building being Unit 7. The variances, there are 3 variances and related to this proposed retail store because And this is just to clarify, and I read through it, they're not playing paintball. It's not paintball maneuvers. It's a store that sells paintball supplies. And I guess there's technical reasons for that. We have the cover letter from the Lakeshore Group, the agent for the applicant. And I guess that's all we have. We don't have anything else, no other concerns or letters from anyone. I don't believe we don't have a planning report on this. Okay, let's hear from the agent.
Members.
Michael Sidlow.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Good morning, sir.
I'm doing well, thank you. I do have a presentation prepared if you would like to hear.
Yeah, I think so. This is a very, we had one similar to this a hearing or two ago. The city was not opposed here, and it's all the issue of what's technically permitted in an industrial zone and whether there's a portion of the products manufactured that you're allowed to sell. I believe me and Mr. Taylor have some experience in dealing with these situations. So why don't you just give us an example or a presentation as to what this particular use is? I know it is contained in your letter. If you want to just give a brief presentation, I think we should hear that.
Absolutely.
Because we're asking, in this case, it's not like a variance where, like a numeric variance where you're allowed 50%, you're at 49%. This is a situation where it's yes or no, that the use is just not permitted. So let's have a presentation. I think it is interesting that community planning has not objected. And conclude what some of the other uses in this multi-industrial complex are.
Sure. So I can just answer that question right off the bat. Some of the other uses include a hardwood flooring store, aquarium store, electric repair shop, a movie prop company. I believe there's a fireworks store, if you will, or facility. So
hold on a second. It sounds like a lot of those uses would not be permitted in the industrial zone also. Are they being brought to committee? Why are you here? Did someone make a complaint? Did the city inspector come by? Why are we here? Sounds like some of those your neighbors should be here also.
So I cannot speak for the neighbors. Obviously, I just represent Unit 7. And the reason we're here is this paintball shop, Badlands Paintball, has actually been on the property since they've had a presence here since 1994. The reason we're here is last year, the owners contacted us as they were moving from unit number 15 to unit number 7, and they wanted to do just a zoning review as they were going to be purchasing that. So in that review, we actually noticed that they had a variance from 1994, which had expired. It expired and there was a change of ownership. So our client was not aware of that and they had continued the use. So we had just caught this last year, and it's because they are moving to unit number 7. So I'm happy to do a more formal presentation as well, or just answer your questions.
Okay, let's leave it open for questions. So my question would be that, first of all, they've been there a long time. I don't know if they are now purchasing the new unit they're moving to. I don't know if they also own the other one or if it was a rental. So sometimes the issue is, well, how long is the lease? We'll give you limited approval, sort of a King Solomon approach. If you're not sure, it's just say do it for time limited. But this is a situation where they're buying the unit. So you're looking for permanently use here as well, and that wouldn't be an option.
That's correct. We're looking for permanent.
Yeah, the issue is the compatibility. So
yeah, I think if I may, I think I'll give my full presentation because I can paint a full.
I'm not sure we necessarily need it, and we've been at this for a while. So let's just see, members. You want a presentation, or you just have some questions for?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Is there also a mini indie storefront there?
So yeah, this is that property. I believe the mini indie is now gone. There was to kind of answer one of your previous questions. This property in the last year or two was condominiumized. So, and there were some renovations. So I think they've lost a few of the older tenants, including the mini indie. But I think some have still remained. Obviously, Badlands would love to remain They've been there since 94. They had a past minor variance approved in 1994 for it. It was just that expired. So yes, this is that same property.
Building? Yeah,
used to
okay.
be.
So yeah, the reason I asked is because that would have been a very compatible use for sure. Anyway,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah, I guess it's the past, the issue of, the impression of people running around with paintball guns shooting each other, having maneuvers on the property. It looks like was some recreational paintball field.
Yes, that used to be there. That is no longer there.
Okay, and that's not part of your use. You have I don't know how big your unit you're purchasing is, your clients are purchasing.
Yeah, it's quite small.
Selling supplies.
It's
How many
quite
square
small.
feet?
It's 392 square meters, which is about 4,200 square feet.
Yeah.
There's no paintball on site at all. The former paintball city, it was called, is no longer.
Okay, thank you. Members, any further questions or motion? Mr. Kamarick.
Yeah, just a brief question. I'm assuming most of your clients' customers would be sort of commercial purchasers. I'm assuming it's not going to generate a lot of individual people. It's really more sort of people that are running paintball establishments that are buying supplies. Would that be correct?
There is, this is a hobbyist and enthusiast kind of store and paintball in general, I'm trying to say. So it is not, it's not attracting a ton of people. It's quite a secluded area as well. You really need to kind of know your way around those back streets to get there. There's not a lot of through traffic. We do have some numbers on customers coming in during the day, and it's about 10 to 12 on the weekdays, 20 on the weekends. So it's not a extremely busy operation.
Yeah, I think that's my feel for it. Is that this is not a typical retail use that you want to put, on Main Street retail.
That's exactly right. You wouldn't see this on Queen West necessarily. So I would say that this is actually a great location, and it's been there nearly 30 years. I think it's a well-known.
It's complementary to the other retail uses that are also sort of more of almost a wholesale kind of retail use as opposed to storefront. So for that reason, I feel comfortable moving approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kamarick. Seconder for that motion.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, sir, and good luck with the paintball store.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, item 8 has been deferred, so we'll move on to, we'll do one more application, then we'll take a short morning break with everyone's permission. So the next application is item 9, 1 Colchester. We have revised the revision page for the agenda. There were 5 variances, there are now 4, and they've all been revised. We have applicant's revisions, a cover letter and supporting material. We have 6 letters of support. And then my pet peeve, and Mr. Palmer's as well, Mr. Palmer will point out, we have a negative planning report, but not negative in the typical fashion. They're recommending a condition, 2 conditions of approval. The first one, to construct as is, construct as illustrated on the plans. But the first one is to refuse variance number 2, even though they've acknowledged they made a change to that and brought down the GFA slightly. But rather than recommending an outright refusal of the application, because the variance for FSI, a significant one, obviously they think it's too significant, the application, the remainder of the variances would be out of context and cannot possibly be approved with a refusal of the other variance. So I will take judicial notice of the fact that what the learned plan assistant planner, what they meant is to refuse in this case the entire application if they felt that the FSI is out of order or out of context. So that's where we start off. We don't have any opposition from anyone else. We do have urban forestry condition 1. David Eagleman is the agent. Welcome, Mr. Eagleman.
Good morning, Sir Chair and committee members. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
Thank you. And
no one here in objection. We have community planning after you've made substantial revisions and a small revision to the FSI, feels the FSI is still out of keeping, but they recommend that variance alone be refused. So my first question, with that being refused, the the panel members were to follow planning's recommendation, could you build this?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't believe the current design would be feasible if the FSI variance would be refused.
Right, refused in its entirety, not if it's 0.62, but 0, so you're at 0.45 is what's permitted. You couldn't build a remainder of it. Okay, so that solves that problem. All right, so I guess the issue is, can we have just a short presentation challenging the learned assistant planner's position? The FSI is out of keeping, and as such, the application, or at least that variance, should be refused.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, just before I get into my presentation, if you need me to go over the revisions, I can do so, but I see that you have a revised.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear what you've done, so I don't believe that is necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Just
So I will
make your presentation on defend your plan, and particularly the FSI.
Yes, okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So through you, Mr. Chair, before getting into the variances, I will note that we have consulted with planning staff regarding this application. We have made revisions to the proposal, as you are aware, in an attempt to satisfy their concerns. Unfortunately, despite the revisions we have made, planning staff have provided a report, as you're aware, that they are recommending refusal of the FSI variance. And respectfully, I disagree with planning staff's opinion and recommendation, but I will note that I have no concerns with their recommended condition that the approval be tied to the submitted plans. I will detail exactly why I disagree with planning staff's opinion as I get into the FSI variance, but before I do that, I will just note I also have no issue with the standard forestry condition number 1, and I will note that I am not aware of any other concerns from other city departments or relevant agencies, as well as surrounding neighbors. And in fact, we have obtained and submitted 8 support letters, of which all are from neighbors on Colchester Court or Wood Valley Drive, which is Wood Valley Drive is the only street that intersects with Colchester Court. And 2 of those support letters were submitted after the deadline, so they may not be within the committee's package, but they have been provided to the committee and should be uploaded to the file. And specifically, one of the support letters we have obtained is from 15 Wood Valley Drive, which is the immediately adjacent neighbor to the east. And that was one of the letters that was submitted late. So considering this was the only variance that planning staff have taken issue with, I will first address the variance number 2, which is the proposed FSI. And the proposed FSI is largely a result of the fact that the subject property lot. And the committee staff to bring photo number of my submitted area photos. And just for the sake of time, I will just continue my presentation as that's being pulled up. And photo number 3 is a photo from the existing front porch of the subject property looking across the street to 7 Wood Valley Drive, which was approved for an FSI of 0.48 times the lot area, or 348 square meters. So while the actual FSI number for 7 Wood Valley Drive may seem lower than what is being proposed, the actual resulting GFA of this proposal in front of you today will only be approximately 722 square feet greater than the existing dwelling across the street at 7 Wood Valley Drive. And if we move down to photo number 6, you will see 7 Colchester Court, which was approved for length and depth variances, but did not require an FSI variance. And again, if we move down to photo number 7, you will see 5 Colchester Court, which did not require any variances to my knowledge under the current applicable bylaw. And I bring this up because, as you can see in the photos, both 7 and 5 Colchester Court appear to be larger than the existing dwelling at 7 Wood Valley Drive. However, there is no available and reliable data on their specific FSIs or GFAs. And this is because both 7 and 5 Colchester Court are reverse pie-shaped lots with larger rear yard areas as compared to the subject property, which is a corner lot and is rectangular in shape. So if the dwellings at 5 or 7 Colchester Court were placed on the subject property, it is very likely that the proposed FSI would be larger than what we are requesting today of 0.62 times the lot area. And this, in my opinion, this demonstrates that while there may be a lack of other previous committee decisions on Colchester Court specifically, the existing character of the street consists of similar or larger houses as compared to the proposal, and this will be in keeping with the existing character of the street and neighborhood. And further to this point, there have been a number of FSI approvals on nearby streets where the FSI numbers may be similar or lower to what is being proposed with this application, but where the resulting GFA is similar or much larger than what is being proposed with this application. And specific examples of this are 18 North Drive, which was approved at 0.62 times the lot area, or 1,424.65 square meters. 6 North Drive, approved at 0.5 times the lot area, or 819.4 square meters. 179 Edenbridge Drive, approved at 0.53 times the lot area, or 748.04 square meters. And 19 Clay Court, approved at 390.83 square meters. So based on these approvals and the justification, I'm of the opinion that this FSI is in keeping with the character of the street, the neighborhood, and will have little to no impact further than what the bylaw already contemplates. And I believe these factors, which I've raised today in respect to the FSI, were not considered by planning staff in preparation of their submitted report. And I know I believe I am over my time, but just to quickly touch on the last 3 variances, they are very minor. The coverage is only 1% greater than what is permitted. And the
okay, Mr. Eagleman, we don't have to hear about the other ones. They obviously singled this one out. And my only complaint with the planning is that in that case, they should have said refuse the whole application, not just to refuse variance number 2. It's absurd. And I know it's an assistant planner, but these reports are supposed to be reviewed by not 1, but 2 supervisors. I see it signed by Al Rozowski, who's a senior party. So I don't know if these things are really being reviewed. But this should have been a recommendation to refuse the entire application, not just that variance. That raises my one question. Did community planning give you any guidance when they said, well, we want it to start, we've heard, we want it under 0.6, we want 0.59, we want, did they give you any guidance? Because they just said, just refuse it, which puts you at 0.45.
Through you, Mr. Chair, they did advise that they would like us to be within the 0.55 range. However, I will note that it is my understanding that that is purely based on other previous committee of adjustment decisions, which there are a lack of on this street specifically because of what I have mentioned.
Right. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, members, any questions for Mr. Eagleman, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. And not to belabor your point, but it's a little bit incongruous to, as you pointed out, the planning department recommends that variance 2 be refused, and yet in the second condition, they recommend approval of plans that include that FSI that they're objecting to. Anyway, enough said. I find the variances meet the 4 tests, and I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 1 and planning condition number 2.
Thank you.
I'm happy to second that motion. I believe that they have made a number of reductions, and they've really tried to satisfy community planning. So
Okay.
I'm happy to
thank you.
second that motion.
All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. You have your approval, Mr. Eagleman. Thank you. And the only reason I say that is if you, let's say you had a brand new committee coming in with no experience and they say, oh yeah, I'm going to follow planning's advice. You would have approved 4 variances, which I take it would, I don't know, city would run with the property as an approval, even though it's out of context and not tied to a plan. So you would be giving variances for length and depth and the like without having a plan to go along with it. And I believe Mr.
Kind of
Palmer was the one
convoluted.
Mr. Palmer, when back a couple of years ago, one planner was giving us a lot of reports like that, and Mr. Palmer made the point quite succinctly, and I believe that planner was promoted. So, whatever.
Thank you, Mr.
let's now
Chair
take
and committee.
Thank you, Mr. Eagleman. Okay, I think it's time for a break. It's now 10:40. Should we return at 5 to 11? 10:55, 15-minute break.
Okay.
Okay, enjoy. Okay, welcome back. Okay, if everyone's ready to get started again, the next application is item 10, 14 Wheatfield Road. And that's an application to make interior alterations to accommodate a second secondary suite, and to construct a second-story rear addition and a rear yard deck for a total of 2 secondary suites being proposed. And there are 5 variances. And we have a cover letter. Planning is recommending refusal. And we have a letter of concern, an opposition petition with 4 signatures. And the speaker for this application is, we have several, is Judy Sansol, the agent for the applicant. And we have neighbors at 12 and 15 Whitfield registered to speak as well.
Mr. Chair and members, I'd like to bring to your attention that the property owner at 12 Wheatfield Road was present on the call earlier, but has since dropped off. So we only have Mary Jo Penny as the area resident on the call at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's hear from Judy Sansol.
Good morning, committee. My name is Judy Sansole. I'm the architect for 14 Wheatfield. I'm going to describe, I do have a little presentation. I'm going to describe the existing conditions. There is an existing 2-story brick house, and it has an existing 1-story rear addition and built in the 50s. The owner currently lives in the main floor and basement in one of the suites, and she rents the 2nd floor suite. It is recognized as a residence with secondary suites by the city. It's legal. The proposal is to add another rental suite with minimal changes to the existing and to be as cost effective as possible. The goal is a secondary suite. And so we are proposing over the existing 1-story rear addition to build a second addition. To do this, we require 5 variances, approvals, and I'm just going to mostly address the most controversial one, which is the secondary suite, which is what the letter from the planner addresses. It's worth noting, first of all, that this property is registered as RM U3, where RM refers to multiple dwelling units. The expectation is it will have detached, semi, tris, 4-plex apartments, and that up to 3 units are permitted, up to 3 units are permitted. I also want to point out that I was with this committee, the Etobicoke committee, back in November for a similar case where there was an existing house with an existing basement suite. We put on a 2-story rear addition, and then the owner wanted to build another secondary suite in the basement, and you approved it unanimously. I mean, most of you did, some of you were here. And to me, this is a very similar situation. There's an existing condition that they look to keep, and they're trying to improve with the secondary suite with as minor changes as possible. So to address the planner's concern, there basically stands as this is not a recognized building type, and they would recommend instead a triplex or a garden suite with the existing house. So why not? If we wanted to do a triplex, that would mean 2 options. One, we change the basement into a unit, which the owner doesn't want to do because she lives there and she needs the 2 spaces. And it's also, basement units are not, it wasn't what she was looking for. Or a 3rd floor, for example, which is a significantly bigger cost than a 24-foot by 22-foot addition over an existing foundation. And as far as the garden suite, certainly this would make the neighbors in an uproar because a lot of their concerns were green space, drainage and parking, and it would change significantly the sort of environment in the back. Our change is minimal, we felt, to achieve the secondary suite. I want to note that we meet the height, we meet side yard setbacks. In my covering letter, I've given you 14 other properties within 500 meters. And I would even say 3/4 of that, because the northeast corner of the 500 meters is apartments. It's zoned very differently. So within a very small area, our zoning is well within, our density is well within what's allowed. So we're very close on density. We're very, very close on depth. We're over by 0.3 meters, and we go over that because the existing addition is over by 0.3 meters, and we're matching that. And then and the length is the only other one that is sort of one of those technical ones that, you know, it's an existing condition. We're the same length as the existing house, but it sort of defines differently, and so we are over the 2 meters. We did respond to the neighbors with a letter. I helped the owner prep it, and I addressed their concerns. She went and talked, I believe, to one at least. But I think I can answer their concerns if my letter wasn't clear.
Okay, so we haven't seen that letter, I guess, right? So
no, we did it since, right? Like I only got that letter from the neighbors after I can submit stuff. So
okay, so thank you for your presentation, and I just was rereading the petition of opposition. It's really not a petition of opposition, and one of the speakers, I guess, signatories is here before us today. So basically, they're just saying they're not looking to have this refused. They just, or to object. They rather to receive assurances that all reasonable efforts are being made to preserve the integrity of one of the oldest neighborhoods of Toronto. They just had questions, you know, with how it's going to be. Is it multi-unit? Is it rooming house, lodging house? Assure that it's dedicated to long-term dwellings and not transient type use like Airbnb. And they feel it's threats. So that's their concern. Just a segue to introduce them, or with one speaker. It looks like they weren't opposed. They just wanted, you know, certain assurances, and they're concerned about the precedent-setting effect, and that there's certain assurances being taken when these things happen. As we know, the city is in need of affordable housing stock, so there's that competing interest, notwithstanding the city's objection. Okay, does anyone have any questions before we hear from the neighbor for the agent members? No? Okay. So let's hear from Mary Jo Penny at 15 Wheatfield, one of the signatories of the letter.
Hi, good morning. Thanks very much for giving me some time. So I have a question regarding, there's 2 suites currently in the house plus the major residence, the main residence. So with this addition, it would be 3 suites plus a dwelling. So, sorry, plus the residence. So that's a total of 4 dwelling units, I'll call them, within this house.
I was under the impression that it's 2 plus the new one being 1 for a total of 3. I may be wrong, but that's what I interpreted it to be.
Yeah, I'd like for the architect to confirm the number of suites in the house for the record.
Okay, so you make your submissions and then she responds at the end.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll ask her to confirm that it is only 3 and not 4 when it's her time to speak.
Okay.
Response.
That is the neighbor's main concern.
Mm-hmm. They're okay with 3? You're okay with 3, the neighbors?
3 total, yes.
Yes. Okay. I don't know. Maybe we'll okay, we don't normally do this, but let's hear, can we hear from the agent that in fact it is a total of 3 and not 4, and I'm not confused.
No, you are not confused. The ground floor and the basement are the main unit that Susie lives on. The second floor, they come in through the side, is the second suite. And at the back, there's an existing addition that's part of the main ground floor unit, Mary Jo. And so we're going to take over that back ground floor and then build on top to make the 3rd. So in total, it is 3.
Okay, so let's go back now. Thanks for clarifying, Mary Jo. If we want to continue with any submissions, I'll let her interject and answer that first question right off the bat for you.
No comments at this time, thanks.
Okay, so that was what your concern was. Obviously, we see your letter here. I sort of summarized as to what you and the other neighbors, it was characterized in our bookmark as an opposition. It's not really opposition. You just want clarification and assurances.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, hope you have that. Okay, let's go back. I guess, Judy, then other than that, I guess there's no need to rebut. So let's just see if any of the other members have any questions for you. And if not, if someone's ready, Mr. Kamara?
I just want to clarify that, again, for the record, that this zone, triplexes are permitted use. It's your understanding?
Triplex is a permitted use. It is, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, Palmer, I've got a question. Just for clarity, it looks like really the only new variance you're looking for is the FSI, the other, and the number of secondary suites. The depth, length, and the deck setback are existing conditions. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in length and depth, existing is that, and we're matching it with our new addition. So that's why it gets triggered. And the deck, I just drew it because it was there, and then I realized it was done without a permit. So that's why we're here for that. But yes, they're existing conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, or is someone ready for a motion?
Just one more that came to mind is, how many parking spaces are on site?
So the side, if you look at the side driveway, like it's got a wide site. That's why we have a deck on the side. So in that space, I guess we meet what is permitted for parking. It did not get triggered. It did not get triggered. Yeah. So we meet the parking. I also know that the owner is looking. This is a great location. It's near Lakeshore. It's near bike paths. It's near the TTC, the GO stop. There's a new GO stop coming at Park Lawn. So the goal is to, there's lots of people without cars, and that will be her goal.
Yeah, there is no parking variance, correct?
There is no parking variance, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, and looking at it on Street View, it looks like there's room for at least 3 cars, maybe even 4.
Depends on whether that is that a shared driveway, or is that?
Well, if you look, you can see 18 Wheatfield at the top. They have their own driveway. If you look on my site plan,
okay.
Yeah, it is not shared. And the owner has told me that there is parking for 3. She just texted.
Okay, any other questions, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. This is a very reasonable proposal, I believe, and helps to address the affordable housing issue in the city. And I'm satisfied it meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act. I move approval without conditions.
Thank you, sir. Seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Mr. Kamara, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous. You have your approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next application, talk about minor, 19 Castlebar Road. It's an application to construct a 2-story south side addition and a new rear deck. There is only one variance, and it's the side yard setback on the south side. It's 0.2 of a meter off. I don't know if that's already pre-existing in any event. That's the only variance, and as to be expected, we don't have anything on file. We do have letters of support from both adjacent neighbors, the one affected by the massive variance of 0.2 of a meter, and the other one as well. So we have both adjacent neighbors, and the speaker for this application is Christopher Zoza, and he is the owner of the property.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Committee.
Good morning.
So I'm Chris Joza, owner of 19 Castlebar Road, MAZ2J4. Really not too much more to add. We were pushing for a little more in terms of the side setback, but we came to an agreement with the city to land on a meter, which the city planner had no additional objections on. So we're happy with that as well.
Okay, and no other variance is triggered, so that's the only one you're asking for. Members, any questions, or someone ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion if no one has any questions. Actually, before we do this, the neighbor has no objections to this. Have you conferred with them at all?
There's a support.
Okay. So
Thank
yes,
you.
I think this is a minor variance application, move for approval. There are no conditions, right? No urban forestry conditions, so with no conditions.
Second for that motion. Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in
Thank you,
favor?
everyone.
You got your approval.
Thank you.
12 has been deferred, so moving out to item number 13, 338 Melrose Street. Again, very straightforward application. It is for a second-story addition above the existing dwelling and a new covered rear yard deck, so a top-up. There are two variances, coverage and FSI. Planning has given us a report for information. And I just had a summary here of what the they mentioned that the lot coverage is legal non-conforming and includes the pools and sheds and everything, and there's no adverse impact. The speaker for this application is Carlos Salazar, the agent for the applicant.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. My name is Carlos Salazar, and I'm the designer and authorized agent on behalf of the homeowner.
Yes, and I do note we have in the additional materials 4 letters of support provided.
That's correct.
Okay, I don't believe we need a presentation on this very straightforward application, unless there's anything you'd like to advise the committee members. Otherwise, I'll just see if they have any questions for you.
I'll be happy to answer any questions. This really, like to your point, is very minor in nature, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay. Members, any questions? And if not, is someone ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'm good with the motion. I believe the application is very minor, certainly meets the 4 tests, and would like to move approval with no conditions.
Seconded for Mr. Komarik's motion. Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? It's unanimous. You have your approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item number 14, 2265 Keele Street. It's an application to convert the existing second story into 9 residential units and 2 offices. There is 1 variance. It's the proposed dwelling units in a mixed-use dwelling. These are not permitted in the E-zone. And we have the applicant's presentation and previous decisions on the property, both from 2008 and 2016. We have planning recommending refusal of the application, advising that residential is a sensitive land use and that there will be the existing will be adversely affected by existing related uses on the same lot and surrounding the property, including the Ingram transfer station. So that's the reason for their recommending refusal. And I believe that's all we have on this application.
Actually, it's not, Chair. We have a letter from the Councillor Francis Nunziata, who is actually in support of the application.
Okay, is that in the additional materials? Because I didn't get a chance to.
So we have a letter from the Councillor in support of the application.
Okay, and that is in the additional materials?
It is.
Thank you for advising. I'm going to check that. Okay, and so we have the 1 speaker. And I'll pull up that letter and perhaps Mrs. Evangelista can refer to it in her presentation. Welcome, Mrs. Evangelista. You're the only speaker on this application.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. Happy New Year. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owners of 2265 Keele Street. You have my materials that I did submit. This particular building, I am aware of the.
Can we get the presentation materials on the screen, please? Well, Mrs. Evangelista makes the presentation.
So I am aware of the planning report that was submitted requesting refusal. However, we're not all we are asking is that we have a second floor. We want to add 9 residential units. We have a second floor that is vacant, and we would like the opportunity to allow some residential component to this building to introduce affordability, introduce residential space to the workers that are there. It's within the building footprint. We are not changing anything. If you refer to my my zoning map on page 5, you'll see that there are these two small parcels that are still zoned employment, which we are currently doing, and that will not change. And this stems back, going back to the old 7625 bylaw. Now, if you also refer to the photos that I have included, be it on page 2, page 3, you'll see that, and also on our aerial view, you'll see that surrounding this area and the surrounding area is all residential. And I would like to add that in this particular, and this is my respectful opinion, what we're proposing is a very desirable form of residential intensification. It has convenient access to the existing routes along Keele, Lawrence, the new Keelsdale station, the Eglinton Crosstown. We don't have opposition from the neighbors. As you see, the local councillor is in support. This does address the missing middle. As I mentioned, it's going to be contained within the existing footprint. Cataldi store will remain, and this allows residential component to those that are required for the missing middle. And it is within the realm and the context. For this, I respectfully submit that what we're proposing does meet the OP and the ZBL, and I am open to any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Evangelista. So is this what the former courthouse? Was this
Yes,
formerly
that is correct, Mr. Chair.
And then
This
for a
was
while
formerly
it was like
a courthouse. A church?
So, yeah, and then it was a church. Yeah, okay, I'm very familiar with this. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for the context map to show all the residential in the area. Planning makes it sound like it's right on top of the transfer station.
And Mr. Chair, may I add, it's adjacent to. It's not. This property is not affected by the transfer station.
Yeah. There are some. I used to go to a little restaurant years ago that was affected by it, but this is not affected.
Right.
Let's see if anyone else have any questions for Mrs. Evangelista.
Yeah, I actually have a question. Is this within the prescribed boundaries of the BIA, the new BIA? Do you know? That's Lawrence, Ingram, Keele, Eglinton BIA, I guess.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do not believe so.
Okay, I was curious, that's all. Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
Yeah, Palmer, what's the current use in the building?
So the use, it's the Cataldi supermarket, which
perfect,
which will remain. It will remain. Nothing is changing. The footprint does not change. The use does not change. We would just like to add the units above in the vacant area.
Yes, so, again, given the use, is a good question by Mr. Palmer. Like for deliveries, fruits and vegetables get delivered at 5 in the morning or so. How are you going to deal with the, as the city alludes to, the competing uses between residential being sensitive to the use right on the site, never mind, forget about the other sites, but just they'll obviously have to make some provisions so people will know what they're getting into. They'll know that they're renting units above a supermarket. It's not going to be a secret, right? So
correct. Well, it's the use remains. It's not changing. And I will add that the loading is behind, and the offices would form a part of the buffer because the offices are also at the back of the building where the loading is. But obviously, all the the people that work there that wish to live there will know, and those that are coming in will know.
Exactly. It's not a big secret. There is a dire need for that missing middle for affordable housing.
Okay, so that's the.
And it is a great asset to the community.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the current use, but what other uses would be allowed if that current use ceased? That could cause potential conflict if there's residential units in there.
Through you, Mr. Chair, this just opened. This is brand new. The intent here, they've spent a lot of money. And also you could see the former councillor within her letter states that this is formed and is forming and will an integral part of the community. This is very much needed. I do respectfully submit that they will be here. They have a reputation that they are very long-standing, tenants and owners.
You're saying they just attended to a massive renovation or new build or whatever.
Okay, well that doesn't answer the question though. I'm asking what uses are currently permitted. If I put up a million square foot facility for Target, lasted a year.
Yeah, there's offices permitted, services permitted, warehouses permitted. We have, as I mentioned, storage. We have ambulance depots permitted. Station is permitted. Art studios permitted. Live work is permitted. Those are some of the permitted uses.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that answers the question. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Kamara?
Yeah, two questions. One is any on-site parking being provided for these residential units or none?
There is on-site parking. Transportation does not have a problem with, they have not commented. So we do have sufficient parking because there is transportation, bike, and the local TTC.
Well, TTC isn't parking, but the question.
But there is sufficient parking for should anyone need or require a parking spot. There is sufficient parking on the site.
You're referring to non-designated general parking spaces for the commercial use then?
Yes, that is correct.
As opposed to designated parking spaces for the potential tenants.
That would be something that we would work with the tenant. And as I mentioned, there are employees that will most likely be working and living there.
What's going to be disclosed to the potential tenants? Are you getting a parking spot, or are you going to? We're just trying to avoid potential conflicts with the permitted existing uses. And with that regard, I think part of the concern from planning may have been the smells that come down that way from the transfer station. But again, that's a question of disclosure to the potential tenants.
Well,
this is not unlike, Mr. Chair. This is not unlike situations where, the stockyards has been converted from heavy industrial to residential, and people move in there and say, "Oh, why does it smell so bad?" Because some of those uses are still continuing. And this is a similar sort of situation where there's potential conflict. And I just want to make sure that if you get approval for a residential, that all of that is somehow disclosed to the potential renters. And would you be opposed to a condition that we have, that we, say that those things do need to be disclosed?
Through you, Mr. Chair, in the rental agreement, all of this will be disclosed. It's for the benefit of the owner also to disclose all these matters. Being one of the reference points of the stockyard, case in point, right? So these are all matters, and these are all points and clauses that will be included in the rental agreement, so that when the tenant does come in, they are fully aware of their surroundings.
Mr. Chair, there's just no condition that can be enforced on part of the city for
Exactly. There's no, we're not, anyway, we saw another application a few weeks ago where, you know, on non-planning issues related to tenant matters, the tenant had a lawyer, various tenants complained, and it was because of bad behavior with nothing to do with planning concerns. An applicant was refused a main floor locker room conversion to a unit. Here they're proposing 9 units. It goes without saying they're not going to be blindfolded when they're brought in to see the unit and then sign a lease. They know exactly where they're renting, but we have no enforcement to say, like in certain subdivision agreements, you have to include when you're selling a house to let the people know that there's traffic and they may be disturbed by certain smells or noises. That's when they're selling houses to people. They have to have an air conditioner because keep the windows open. So there are certain things that the city does impose, but I think on this application, I guess city planning just recommended a refusal. They didn't suggest that we put warning clauses that people realize that they have a grocery store underneath them or where they are in the city, because they know where they are in the city. They won't rent there. And if they don't like it, they'll leave when their lease is up. So I think we're analyzing this a little too further along down the road here. We have an application to convert this, have 9 units to put above. We know where it is, and that's the application. I don't think we should be imposing warning clauses like Madam Secretary Treasurer mentions. There's no enforcement procedure for to ensure that it actually takes place or that it's merited, because we're not the landlord and tenant board here.
Personally, if I had a grocery store on my main floor, I'd be thrilled.
Yes.
So
again, you know, there's going to be deliveries. They'll hopefully try to shield it. This is life in the big city. It's the conversion of the stockyards, many other issues where we see these types of applications. And the city is in dire need of housing. Okay, any other questions for Mrs. Evangelista, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
I'm ready to weigh in with a motion if no one else has any questions or concerns. You know, I do think this is a great example of missing middle conversion. And as I said, I would be absolutely thrilled to have a supermarket on my main floor. I wouldn't have to go very far to get groceries. So I move approval for this variance, and there are no conditions.
Have we lost the chair?
It looks like we have. Why don't we just pause for a moment to see if he can join back in. Okay, there you are. Michael, we have a motion on the table by Laura to approve the application. You're muted.
Michael, you're muted. You're still muted.
How's that? Better?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I was motion. Was there a motion?
Yes, the motion was, I believe that this is a great example of conversion for missing middle housing in the city of Toronto, and I move for approval with no conditions.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Is there a seconder for that motion? Mr. Taylor, any commentary?
Well, I'll just say, you know, a lot of discussion about the impact of incompatible uses, and I think that's true. There are some issues potentially related to that, not only from the residential perspective against the employment uses, but I think Mr. Palmer mentioned new employment use potential and how these uses may coexist. But I think on balance, I'm fully supportive of Ms. Alderson's comments about the need for addressing the missing middle. So I think on balance, I'm supportive of this project.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 4-1 with Mr. Palmer dissenting. Thank you, Mrs. Evangelista.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the next application is item number 15, 24 Braywin Drive. This is for a new detached dwelling with attached garage with 5 variances. We have a as of right plan. We have presentation. We have planning has a condition of approval to construct as illustrated. Transportation is no objection. We have 5 letters of support. And the speaker for this is Rebecca Muse.
Mr. Chair and members, I'd like to bring to your attention the agent is actually Peter Giordano for this file.
Okay.
A late minute change. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Giordano.
Hello, Mr. Chair.
Hello. Pretty straightforward application here. You have the 5 variances. And we have your supporting materials, notice of decision precedents, I guess, and you have the letters of support. Is there anything you'd like to advise the committee members, or should I see if someone has any questions? I don't think we need a wholesome presentation.
I've provided, Mr. Chair, I've provided the presentation. You can flip through it and ask questions if you like. I was prepared to go through it if you would like, but I agree. I'm fully prepared to answer any questions that you might have specific to the variance requests.
Okay, so I'm scrolling. Is there a presentation or just like many highlighted decisions in the area?
No, the presentation's on the screen.
When I get to the end, there's a presentation here. I see then there's the support letters. So I don't see anything other than many precedents.
It's on the screen.
Oh, okay. Is that in the additional materials or in the regular? Because I didn't see it in my package. Anyway, it's on the screen. So members, any questions for Mr. Giordano or is someone ready for a motion? Sorry. You know, my problem is I'm on application number 16, not 15. Sorry, Peter.
No worries.
Okay. That was my problem. I was on the wrong application. Okay. Okay, this is a presentation. You must have thought, what's he talking about? Okay. Yeah, very good. I think you have everything in here. Does anyone have any questions? I especially like when we show the as of right. I think that should actually be a requirement. And when applicants come here, they should have to show the as of right building envelope as compared to what they're proposing. So thank you. Any questions or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to the community planning condition.
Thank you. Seconded for Mr. Taylor's motion. Mr. Komarek, thank you. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Giordano.
Terrific. See you later.
Sorry for causing confusion. Not the first time. Okay, next item is item number 16, the one I was looking at. 72nd Street. It's an application to construct the 2nd story addition and a 2-story rear addition. There are only 2 variances, FSI and height. And we have on this application support, 2 letters of support, 66 and 72. Looks like a total of 3. We have supporting materials, which are, again, as I stated, are numerous precedents in the area. And the speaker for this application is George Taxidis, agent for the applicant.
Mr. Chair.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good. So I just introduced the your application. So you've attached the supporting materials being precedents in the area. Was there anything you'd like to advise the committee members of, or I can just see if they have any questions?
I think it's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything. Any concerns?
Rather minor FSI variance of 0.08 and a height variance of less than half a meter. So members, any questions for Mr. Taxidis or is someone ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm good with the motion. I believe the application meets the 4 test. It's quite minor and would like to move approval with no conditions.
Okay, thank you. Seconded for that. Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Okay, I don't see Mr. Palmer. I assume it's unanimous. Okay, unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Tixidis. Your application has been approved. Okay, our next application is item number 17, 1529 Royal York Road. This is an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling, a new front porch, a new second-story balcony, and a new rear yard deck. There are 4 variances on this application. We have previous decision on the property from September 30th, 2010. We have a cover letter, arborist report. TRCA has advised that they have no objection. And we have a letter of concern from 109 York Lead. And the speaker for this application is Eddie Perez, the agent for the applicant. And we have the neighbor at 109 York Lee who wrote in with a letter of concern present as well. Good morning, Mr. Perez.
Hello, good morning, Chairman and committee members. I'm here on behalf of the owners and the designer. As you can see, we're here at a second floor of an existing dwelling. And we have a minimum front yard setback, minimal 7.29 instead of 7.64, which is an existing situation. The minor permitted exterior wall is just slightly above. The main height of the roof it complies. And we're asking for the balcony as 9.67, which is minor as well. I feel that this is very minor in nature. And as for the gentleman that's on, I asked my client to call. I'm not sure if they actually spoke to each other, but I told her if she can have a conversation with the gentleman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Mr. Perez, yeah, I see the neighbor had 3 questions in his letter dated January the 19th email. And I guess you had his, I don't know if your client, because he is online. So yeah, he perhaps will be making some questions. Before we do that, does anyone else have any questions at this time for Mr. Perez? Okay, so let's hear from Mr. Kular at 109 Yorkley, which is actually right next door.
Hey, good morning, committee members. Scott Kular here. I'm a resident of Yorkley Avenue. I'm representing myself as well as the residents of our cul-de-sac here. Again, I'm not opposed to adding the second story. We just want we want an assurance on one issue that
So I just asked, did you actually have a conversation with the owner? Mr. Perez says
no,
she didn't call you.
No, I mean, you know, they haven't talked to me for the whole year they've been here, so I'm not really obliged to talk to them like they want to call me like just before this happens. So, you know.
Okay.
So that's fine.
Okay, so ask your questions, and Mr. Perez will answer.
Yeah, sure. So basically, you know, looking at the building plans, you know, the house looks great and all that, but we, you know, looking forward, we just don't. I know this is an RD zone, but we just want to understand that this doesn't get turned into like a triplex of sorts. You know how it sort of gets masked by the person that actually owns the house. It's like, you know, yeah, we have a secondary suite, but then they ended up, you know, renting the 2 floors. Again, we know it's an RD zoning, so they can't permit a triplex. Again, this would create, I guess, parking issues if they did. And the residents would just like an assurance and like it addressed to ensure that this doesn't turn into basically a triplex based on looking at the drawings, because you have bedrooms in the basement, you have bedrooms on the main floor, and you have bedrooms on the second floor. So that's the perception it gives. So they're looking for assurances there. So, you know, it doesn't turn into something like the whole house is rented, all 3 floors. And again, and then when that happens, it creates a problem with parking, because really parking on this property isn't very adequate because it's on a slope. Moving on to the second one, unless you want to answer that.
You asked him all, he answers at the end.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
And basically, what we noticed on the basement entrance, it looks like it was moved from the Yorkley side, beside the garage, to the Royal York Road side. So we're looking at an issue here, whereas I understand, this could be a class as a secondary suite, which is permitted, However, under Article 150, 10, 41, which is Chapter 150, shows restrictions on pedestrian entrance to a secondary suite. They're not permitted in a front wall of a detached house or a semi-detached house. So we're looking at it as the front wall as Royal York Road. Because if you look at one of the pictures, it's noted side west elevation, it shows the front wall being the entrance to the basement, which is Royal York Road. I think the building and planning department really needs to revisit this based on the building plans, because of the appearance, model, and the character of the house then doesn't really coincide with the homes in and around the area. And that's basically all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kular. Mr. Perez, please respond to the concerns raised by Mr. Kular in his submission.
Yeah, I'll start. My clients has no intentions of making it 2 units. This is for a growing family. They have a few kids and they want a single family dwelling. We're not asking for a second unit. And as per the front entrance is getting moved to the Yorkley Avenue because of where the driveway is and all that. So the clients wanted it to move the front the entrance and that. If you look at the elevations and that, it's now moved to the Yorkley Avenue. It's safer for the kids and stuff to go out and than the main street. So that's why they decided to move it to the Yorkley Avenue. Maybe they might even decide after to change the address to that if they can as well. That they were just mentioning that. We haven't decided exactly yet, but that may be done down the road. So as I said before, we're not asking for 2 units. We're only asking for a single family dwelling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Members, any questions of Mr. Perez or Mr. Kular, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think this is a pretty straightforward application. I'm satisfied that the 4 requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval without conditions.
Thank you, sir. Seconder for that motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Perez, and thank you, Mr. Kular. Okay, the next application is item number 18, 123 Edgecroft Road. It's an application for a new detached dwelling with an attached garage with 2 variances, FSI and floor 0.07 and less than 1 meter in length. And that is all. The speaker is Harpreet Bonds, the agent for the applicant. We have planning weighing in with a condition of approval. They want it constructed as illustrated, as shown on the site plan regarding building length, and we have a letter of opposition from 112 Edgecroft. Okay, and we have the one speaker, the agent for the applicant, Mr. Bonds.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chair and rest of the committee members. Just want to add something new that I understand that those 2 variances
Can you speak a little louder? I'm having trouble hearing you. If you can try to speak up a bit.
Okay, my name is Harpreet Bonds, and I understand that there are 2 variances which city is supporting my application, but then there was a comment from the urban forestry because there was a city tree which was, we were building a driveway and it was coming in the tree protection zone. So what we did is we revised our entrance to the lot yesterday, and I sent it to the Daniel so that we have done in such a way that it is no longer obstructing the tree protection. So which fulfills the urban forestry. We are not now protruding within the tree protection zone.
So have you made, sorry, sir, just to clarify, and I'm sorry I didn't raise that in my introduction. Yes, but community planning has asked, or urban forestry is asking for refusal of variance number 2, the length variance. Have to convince the committee that it's not the 17 meters that is injuring the tree. It's only the extra 0.81. And if it would be injured in any case, then they can't object and you are entitled to that. So have you said you made some changes to your plan that's going to be more protective of the tree?
Not to the plan, but to the entrance to the property, because initially our entrance was pretty straight. So we reduced the entrance at the start of the property to 4.01 meter. And when you go to the garage, it is now 4.2 instead of earlier it was, 4.27, all the way one dimension was there. So we try to reduce the width so that it does not conflict with the tree protection. It is no longer a straight driveway to the property. We submitted a revised plan also to the committee yesterday. They can share it with everybody. We have that revised drawing for the entrance.
Okay, so you're saying you've changed the driveway in order to protect the tree.
It is no longer coming in the tree protection of the city outside the property. Earlier it was.
Okay, members.
So we reduced the width. We reduced the width of the driveway.
Okay. And is that shown in a plan?
We submitted yesterday the revised site plan, which shows the reduced driveway.
Okay, who did you submit that to?
Daniel.
Okay.
I don't think we have that.
No, if they were submitted, it would have been too late.
Okay, but it doesn't affect the property. It's just it affects the where you're showing the driveway.
Yes.
Yeah, because initially the driveway was straight and it was intersecting the tree protection zone in one of the city trees.
Okay. And you.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I'm willing to work with urban forestry. Whatever changes they will say, I will fulfill that. And, I am willing to work with them.
Okay, so you want to save the tree as well. Obviously, your client wants the tree. Yeah.
Definitely. That is why we reduce the driveway.
Okay. So you can work that out with urban forestry, I guess.
Yes, I'm willing to do that.
Okay, members, any questions for Mr. Bonds, or is someone ready for a motion?
I have a question because I think we have a bit of a dilemma now. There's a planning condition that it be tied to the site plan. The applicant has just stated that he's revised the site plan. So I'm not sure we can, to satisfy forestry, we're not going to be able to tie it to the request that planning is making.
Perhaps staff can help. Wouldn't that just be the length of the we're just talking about the dwelling? He's not changing that.
Correct. The site plan will show the driveway width, and he's saying that he's varied that from the site plan that was submitted in November.
That is correct, because it was a straight driveway with 4.27 meter. Now I reduced it, but my building length is same.
The urban forestry has a concern with your length, not your driveway width.
The length of the dwelling, correct?
Yes.
But I'm only exceeding by 7.81. And that is also a single story sunroom coming in the back. It's not a 2-story addition in the back when I have a 0.81 extension.
Okay, in terms of Stan's concern, is it not correct? What the condition they're asking is plan and elevation drawings dated November 9th, as it relates to proposed building length. I now hear he's going to put the new site plan in showing the the overall site plan, that it's not going to affect the building length. The building
No, and
That's correct.
changed on that document.
And the revised site plan is not before the committee. He has not submitted that, so that the committee could review it. And he said the revised site plan has modified the driveway width, but that's not the concern that Urban Forestry has raised in their comments.
Right, it's the building length.
Yes.
But he's saying he's not changing the building length, so why do we have a problem if we have that particular drawing attached to any, assuming we are able to approve it today, that the building length is something that's not going to change, and we can attach it with certainty that that's what the intention of the committee is. Anyway, someone ready to make a motion of either to defer or to approve with the condition. I don't think the conditions, I believe it can be complied with, even though he's going to file something new with Urban Forestry to protect the tree.
Yes.
He's not going to change the building length of the actual building on the drawing,
I'm
architectural
actually
drawing.
confused by Forestry's request, because if their concern is the city tree, then what does the building length have to do with the city tree anyway?
Exactly. I think they got confused because if you look at my original site plan, my driveway was intersecting the tree protection. So that's what I figured out, because building length has nothing to do with urban forestry. So there was some kind of confusion. So we figured out that, okay, we are not changing the length of the building. So let me change the driveway so that it satisfies the urban forestry.
I think the simple solution here is that we do a condition on Forestry 1, which addresses that tree. And if we impose the planning condition, then we say that it is strictly to do with building length so that the driveway width can be changed.
That's correct.
So
You're correct, Mr. Kamara.
that would be my motion then.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. You have your approval. Thank you, Mr. Bonds. And thank you for helping us to understand what was really going on there. Okay, 19 has been deferred. That was the large one that will eventually come back with a lot of speakers registered. So we have one more application for the morning session, which is item number 20, 26 St. George's Road. And it's an application for one-story rear addition and an accessory structure being a sauna / pool shed in the rear yard. And we have photos of the existing dwelling. We have an arborist report, and we have Craig Reitz is the agent for the applicant.
Yes, good morning. My name is Craig Ritz, CAR Design Studio, agent for the owners. Thank you for your time this morning. Happy to do a presentation if you wish. I think what we have here is certainly minor in
Provide
nature.
us your photos. I can see the photos that you're putting up here and your plans. And let's just see if committee members have any questions for you. We have your showing where the proposed the sauna equipment storage and the 140-story frame addition to the building. We have all your plans and the photos. Members, any questions for Mr. Reitz or someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, again, pretty straightforward application. I find the requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. Seconder for that? Mr. Kamarick, I saw your hand go up a little faster. Not that it makes a difference. All in favor? Okay, Mr. Reitz, you have your approval. It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
And okay, having said that, we have now completed the morning session. I believe staff, you like 15 minutes at least more than the hour break in order to vet the agenda and do sound checks with the speakers and figure out who's present and who's not. So suggest we return, Barb, at 1:15.
That's perfect, and we'll do sound check at 1.
1 o'clock. Okay. Okay. Have a good break, everyone. Good morning.